For generations, tales of unidentified flying objects were brushed off as mere figments of the human mind. But what unfolds when the U.S. government is compelled to acknowledge that something unexplainable is moving stealthily through our skies, well beyond the reach of current scientific logic? What realities lie buried behind those bizarre sightings, the perplexing radar data, and a sky full of secrets that have long remained hidden? Let's unravel this enigma together in today's episode. Buckle up as we plunge into this puzzling case. But before we begin, you might just change your fate by hitting the like button and subscribing before the video ends. On a bitterly cold afternoon, November 17, 1986, high above Alaska, Japan Airlines Flight 1628 was on its route from Paris to Tokyo. The massive Boeing 747, stretching 70 meters long with a wingspan exceeding 60 meters, was heavily loaded with cargo, but only 3 individuals were on board. At the helm was Captain Terauchi Kenju, a seasoned aviator with over 10,000 flight hours and a background in the Japan Air Self-Defense Force. Alongside him sat First Officer Tamafuji Takanori and Flight Engineer Yoshio Tsukuba. The trio believed it was just another routine trip until the unimaginable occurred. Around 5:10 p.m. local time, cruising at 10,000 meters and approaching Anchorage airspace, Captain Terauchi noticed 2 peculiar beams of light behind the aircraft at roughly the 7 o'clock position. The unidentified entities glowed intensely with a yellowish-white hue, darting forward past the aircraft at tremendous speed. They stopped roughly a mile ahead to the plane's left, hovering as though gravity held no power over them. But Captain Terauchi wasn't the only one who saw this. Both First Officer Tamafuji and Engineer Tsukuba, seated inside the confined cockpit, witnessed the same astonishing display. The captain quickly radioed ground control. By 5:18 p.m., the first radio transmissions were underway. "This is Japan Airlines 1628. We are observing 2 unidentified objects in front of us. Please confirm nearby traffic." Ground control initially replied that no other aircraft appeared on radar in that vicinity. At that altitude and time, there should have been none but Flight 1628. Moments later, however, ground control broke in again. This time, an object had been spotted on radar trailing directly behind the 747 at the 6 o'clock position, about 5 miles away. Captain Terauchi continued to report what they saw. The objects ahead were immense, nearly matching the size of the 747. They emitted light from numerous rotating ports and spun like massive cylinders, their centers appearing as pitch-black voids, as if a hole had been carved into the night sky. As the objects came within 150 meters, their intense glow lit up the cockpit, flooding it in a brightness comparable to midday sun. The crew even felt waves of heat radiating through the cabin, as though they were flying through a blazing furnace. Then abruptly the objects veered away, allowing the plane to surge forward. What seemed like the end of the ordeal after 12 harrowing minutes was, in truth, only the beginning of a strange and restless night above Alaska. Just 5 minutes after the encounter ended, another bizarre phenomenon emerged. 2 soft blue lights appeared directly ahead of the aircraft, not like the blazing lights from before, but more subdued, quietly hovering. Captain Terauchi initially suspected he was hallucinating from the strain, but when all 3 crew members confirmed the sight, he realized this was no illusion. The lights stayed still, neither approaching nor retreating. Upon closer inspection, Terauchi understood these were not 2 separate objects, but the glowing ends of a colossal, jet-black structure. Recognizing imminent danger, he immediately contacted ground control and requested permission to take evasive action. Granted the go-ahead, he sharply banked the 747 to the right. Yet the giant dark mass mimicked every maneuver, sticking close to the plane like a shadow. Alarmed, ground control contacted the U.S. Air Force. Military radar corroborated the presence of a massive object tracking the 747 for 14 minutes before vanishing without a trace. At that moment, the aircraft was just 270 kilometers from Anchorage. Terauchi seized the opportunity and landed safely, the 3 men finally exhaling after one of the most bizarre moments in aviation history. Upon landing, Anchorage Airport was immediately swarmed. Officials from the FAA, military personnel, and unidentified individuals quickly took control of the situation. The flight crew was separated and interrogated individually, each providing an astonishingly consistent account of what they had seen. The blinding yellow-white orbs, the immense shadow with glowing blue ends, the overwhelming light and heat. Radar from both military and civilian sources backed up their stories, showing unexplained activity that matched the flight crew's timeline. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the U.S. government didn't make the findings public. All materials, radio recordings, radar logs, Terauchi's drawings were classified and sent to Washington for secret analysis. Terauchi's sketches were particularly telling. Two bright shapes resembling upright equal signs, their cores dark and flanked by radiant rotating bands, completely unlike any known aircraft. But within days, official denials emerged. Authorities attributed the radar anomalies to errors and claimed the crew might have seen Mars or Jupiter. The pilots, especially Captain Terauchi, fell silent. He later resigned and the others disappeared from the public eye. For years, the story of Flight 1628 faded into obscurity. It wasn't until May 9, 2001 in Washington, D.C., during a symposium called the Disclosure Project, that a door reopened. More than 30 former U.S. officials spoke out, including John Callahan, former head of the FAA's accident investigations. His shocking testimony revealed that all data from the Flight 1628 incident had been seized in a closed-door meeting involving CIA, FBI, and White House representatives. The evidence had been buried, but Callahan had kept a copy. At the symposium, he unveiled radar charts, recordings, and Terauchi's illustrations, all showing flight characteristics that violated known laws of physics. This courageous revelation brought the case back into public view. But when the media reached out to Japan Airlines, the response was silence. Terauchi had resigned and no one had heard from the crew since. However, an old recording surfaced. A brief interview with Captain Terauchi, his voice trembling. "What I saw over Alaska was not of this earth," he said. "I believe it didn't come from this dimension." He also revealed that when ground control asked if he wanted fighter jets deployed, he declined. Though that seemed irrational, it was actually wise. Had military jets approached, the situation might have escalated or been buried further. Veteran pilots who face such unexplained encounters often remain silent for this very reason. Just a month after Flight 1628's ordeal, Japan experienced another strange event. On December 21, 1986, far out in the Pacific Ocean, the scientific survey ship Kaio Maru detected a massive, fast-moving object circling them on radar. The sky was clear, visibility perfect, but nothing could be seen. The radar revealed a 300-meter-wide object traveling at 5,000 kilometers per hour. It vanished, reappeared at 8 p.m. It vanished again and returned once more at 11 p.m., all invisible to the eye. The ship's scientists submitted full data, confirmed no equipment issues, and published their findings in a respected scientific journal. The case became one of the rare UFO incidents deemed credible by the academic community. If Flight 1628 was a brief brush with the unknown, the Kaio Maru incident was clear proof that something beyond comprehension lingers at the edge of our reality. After decades of dismissing UFOs, in June 2021, the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a report on UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. Of 144 incidents from 2004 to 2021, only one had a known explanation: a balloon. The other 143 remained a mystery. In 18 cases, the objects exhibited physics-defying traits. The U.S. government finally acknowledged the existence of unknown aerial entities beyond current understanding. One case mentioned was American Airlines Flight 2292 on February 21, 2021. While cruising at 36,000 feet over New Mexico, the plane narrowly missed a cylindrical object flying at extreme speed. The FBI opened an investigation but gave only vague conclusions. More alarming is how these encounters often occur near nuclear sites, from New Mexico's early atomic tests to the Fukushima disaster site in 2011. After cameras were installed to monitor Fukushima, glowing objects were repeatedly caught on video drifting silently above the ocean. From Roswell in 1947 to modern nuclear facilities, the sightings continue. But what's most telling is the U.S. government's concern, not the presence of aliens, but national security. If another country is behind these objects, the threat is dire. And if not from this world, how long before they show themselves openly? If this story made you reflect on the mysteries still hidden above us, Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to keep exploring these unexplained enigmas with us, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next story.